Damn, you switch pod.
Yes, sir. Yes,
We're
sir.
back to give you those rugby takes, those flagrant rugby takes, those controversial rugby takes. How are you, Chris?
Yeah. Oh, could have been better, but we keep going. How's it going your side?
The defeat, it's got me a bit down, or totally wrong on the predictions. But I mean, how can you predict that first 20?
Yeah, that's that's the thing. It's just they don't get off the bus. They don't get off the bus. In the first 20 minutes, they're still on the bus. And I think the mistake that the Springboks made was on kickoff. They gave, from the get-go, they gave New Zealand the ball. And and New Zealand just wanted to play one way, which we all said the tempo. It's just unfortunate that we weren't in the game. We weren't able to stop that bleeding, when they were getting that momentum.
But
Couldn't.
I've never seen tempo like this. They were playing at fast forward. And the
Yeah,
thing is, we
yeah.
were missing tackles, and it didn't help the situation. It
Easy
didn't help.
meters.
Yeah, easy meters. It didn't help as well that, for example, Visa in that number 8 role, when you have to receive kicks, when you have to, from restarts, those knocks. I think later on in the game, Dialendi was even a victim of that. The restarts. I didn't think restarts was one of the problems that we had.
Yeah, look, it was a subdued Bok performance, in that sense. Is because I think just coming out the gate, New Zealand just put them on the floor right away, and from there, it was always just going to be catch up. So, even looking at the whole game, I don't want to be too critical. The reason why I say that is, they didn't play.
I know, but whose fault is that? We must be critical. I personally feel like we must be critical. It's their fault. They in that time. Okay, let's look at that first 20 minutes. How many times have we heard "keep it tight" in the first 20?
Yeah.
Surely you have some kind of inkling of what's going on around you. You can see these guys are playing a high tempo game. Instead of being shocked in the moment, you need to stand up and try and slow it down. You need to be pragmatic in your approach in those first 20. You can't just say, okay, well, they caught us cold. We're still warming up. We're not getting into this game. Even people want to talk about Kwagga Smith having a good game. They're like, he warmed up into the game. We don't need you at 60 minutes to start playing. We need you in the first 5. We need you in the first 5. I don't need my number 6 to warm up into the game.
And look, and I think actually, let's dive deeper into that. I think what we're seeing is just maybe they missed something in selection, because Marks, I think, in this game, same as what Ellis Park was last year. I know Skalkberger mentioned that they just basically did the same thing, New Zealand, that they did last year. They went kicking game, tempo, and just absolutely just making the breakdown difficult, and it's only you saw when Marks came on, his impact there. So I think maybe selection,
I agree there. I
think that didn't help as well. But considering New Zealand, and not saying that the guys are bad, and this is now the dilemma that the coaches find themselves in is that you've got all these good players, but now it's understanding who's needed when. I think that's where in what type of game to say, okay, we know these guys, they want to play fast, and we don't want that. So who can stop that? And
it's also to be clinical in those decisions. It's not to be sentimental in those decisions. Because to me personally, if we go look at Kwagga, Van Staden would have been better in this game based on what we saw. Van Staden looks like the more like for like replacement with Kolisi. Bongi in this game, there's a lot of people that think Marks has always been better than Bongi, and that the whole bomb squad idea is a joke because the better players on the bench. I personally don't believe that. There's times where they go up and down in form. One is better than one. then one is better than the one. One is better, and that's why there's been that kind of change in selections where Marks. But I think it's time again to change it. I think Bongi looked unsure, especially at the back of the mauls. He didn't know when to break off. He didn't know what to do when the maul wasn't going forward. When Marks was at the back of the maul, he knew what to do. He scored a try.
Yeah.
Bongi looked gassed as well. He looked tired, and he looked like
someone.
A
lot of the guys looked flat.
He looked like someone that is used to winning the physical encounter, but now he's not winning the physical encounter. And to me, that also goes for Luet, Visa, Bongi, Mapimpi. Willemse was hiding. You talk about selection. I think those 4 or 5 guys, it's time to be clinical.
Yeah.
Is it not time to be clinical?
No, I agree with you, because I mean, it's how many more games until the World Cup, and I think we definitely are going to need something more, from in order to retain this thing, and that's where I'm also. It's like you couldn't see if there was a plan, if you know what I mean. Besides the maul, which they prepare for, the Crusaders, their forward pack is basically, most of them are the All Blacks, and they're not afraid to front up physically. So outside of the maul, outside of the kicking game, outside of our scrum, which, wasn't really what it always is, there wasn't really anything more that you could see,
I know. To me, we got the go forward. We got the go forward when we needed it. The problem is we couldn't finish it off. The only time we did finish it off was when Vili flung that pass to Kobe. But besides then, I can't complain about the playing pattern, because in terms of that, I do feel as though we executed. We just weren't clinical. And we need guys that are going to be clinical there. And the thing is, that more expansive play, that double pivot, Vili was executing it well in 2 games. Lebok executed in the first game, Willemse didn't execute it in the second game. So it's time to be clinical. Willemse, is he a test 10 or is he not a test 10? Because we can't go in like this to a knockout World Cup match.
Yeah. Let the guy that's been playing 10, let him play 10. I think so. If he's got a backup at 10, let him back up. Maybe he's better used at center. The inside center. And also you can also fullback. So yeah, there I do agree with you. In terms of clinical selections. And the thing is, now it's a tricky situation, because I don't think we'll see that going into the next game, or for the next couple of games. I doubt it, but you'd hope that going in to the World Cup, they would have settled and made those tough decisions, in terms of who's going, who's staying, and but what I mean as well, in terms of little plans and whatnot, is it, yes, the playing pattern, yes, is good, but when that doesn't work, what's the point of difference? Is there a little magic trick that okay, maybe we already know, okay, this guy, his weakness is this, let's try to exploit him like that, because those guys with their kicking game, they're just moving us around like crazy,
and they exposed our defensive pattern. When you kick that accurately, it exposed our defensive pattern. And what it also did was expose guys in the air. Willemse used to be, one of his strengths of his game used to be going for that ball. But there's times where he was basically uncontested. There's times where the winger didn't even jump. They just came, put that pressure there for the tackle, not even jumping, and he's rocking the ball on. So that's also what I mean with Willemse, where it's just like, if you're not gonna step up, then you must step out.
Yeah, because I think the thing is like, I'm tired of the hype of New Zealand, man. That's no, I am. I am, and it's like the irritating thing is that the potential is there to stick it to these guys. But yes, okay, it's a tough game and so on and so forth. But it's not like it can't be done. It's not like you haven't done it before. It's not like you don't know what it's like. So okay, fine. Auckland, it's the Mecca. But I mean,
we weren't even at the real Mecca. We were at the fake Mecca.
Yeah, But yeah, man, it's just like you are right in that sense, that in terms of selection, because some guys, they're hitting that mileage range, where maybe this is just the last squeeze of the juice, out of them, getting into this World Cup. But there wasn't really much, to be impressed about, when they finally got the basics, the things that, make the box in the second half, it looked better, but it was pride, that is just pride at stake, but I still back the guys. I just think it's the conundrum of selection and actually getting that balance and understanding, okay, we're playing Australia. I mean, look at the balance that they got against Australia. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it was more of a case because nobody was sure what Australia was going to bring, And then when you look at New Zealand, it's like, okay, you're looking at them, but you also need to look more introspectively to say, okay, well, what do we need to beat these guys, and not to say stop them, but to beat them, and we've got the tools.
But that's the thing as well, because it's not just the first 20. The ball was so untidy at the back of the ruck the whole game. And there was never any pragmatism to say, okay, how are we going to sort this out? The only thing they were doing was committing more guys to the breakdown. It helps, but at the same time, it kills your game plan. So it's
but it started to look better with RG coming on, trying to, in contact, moving the ball away from contact. Peter Steff was also trying to do that. So I think there, we started to see that these guys were trying to solve the problem. But I mean, by then,
so they must play. Those guys must play. Those guys,
must play.
Lued, I don't know. Look, I feel as it stands right now, the first test that we had against Australia, we had 2 locks show up. Off the bench, we had Peter Steff and we had RG show up. So now it's to say if four guys are showing up, do we have room for a guy that doesn't show up?
Yeah. And we
can all say, yeah, but you know how good Lued can be on his day. When is that day? Is it coming, or is it going to be in September? Do we risk it being in September?
Yeah. And I mean, how many more caps do you need before you just, this is what you do, and even you don't get flustered by New Zealand.
Because Bongi was flustered, he was flustered, and the guys, the guys that weren't flustered were guys like de Klerk, because you could see the whole time de Klerk was trying to make something happen. Philly was trying to make something happen. Colby kicks off. So you make a good point there. With how many caps does it take for you to be automatic, that you know what's going on, that you're going to play?
Yeah. Because especially against New Zealand, and that's for me, that's the irritating thing, because it gets built up, it's this big game, and then, you don't pitch, especially the first 20, you don't pitch. Yes, there's other factors that go in there, but at the end of the day, they didn't. And we need to go, okay, at this point, Marx is the form guy. He looks like, he's cool, calm, and collected right now. He must be the go-to guy. We must already know, okay, these are our go-to guys. And, with this team, we win the test match. In the lineouts, we know we boss it. Because, I mean, even in the lineouts, there's no competing. We weren't really putting much pressure on them. We weren't even controlling our own ball too well. And then RG came on and it was a bit better, because we got the maul going in there. So that's the thing. Hence why I say, then it's just, okay, where's the tactical astuteness within the lineup, because obviously these guys are doing their homework. They, it just looks like in some departments, it's not as top tier as what we had become accustomed to, because when you associated the Springbok lineout, that's a 98% lineout, if not most of the time, but yeah.
But what I will say is, I actually do believe in this All Blacks hype. I before this game, I would have said, yeah, no, they're not the same guys. They don't have the same aura. But when you see that first 20, when you see the way that even down to the bomb squad, they dismantled us, the way that we normally change the whole front row. We are putting on one at a time this time because they saw we need kids off on the field. We can't risk it just going straight front row. So they even dismantled the bomb squad. Will Jordan had a game. He was picking us off on his wing. He was picking us off coming from the others, coming off his wing.
Yeah, he's just everywhere.
Frizzell, he was beating us like we were women. Things were just going on.
Yeah, no, there was a lot happening there. And that's why I say it's so disappointing, because for a Springbok team, yes, it's away from my first Springbok team. That 20 minutes. That's
why I say that aura. It may have gone before, but I believe it's back in some way, shape, or form. I now, before this game, there was no fear of New Zealand. After this game, I am scared of New Zealand.
Look, obviously New Zealand will always be New Zealand, but I'm still not scared of those guys, because I still believe they're vulnerable. I still believe that, little things like, say, okay, control the ball, control the tempo, take the game back away from them, in terms of from the pace, frustrate them, in different ways, and always be thinking, to say, okay, this is what they're trying to do. We're not going to let them do that, and this Bok team, they can do that. They I believe by now, come on, if you look at the caps, so showing the stats, how many caps on the bench, etc., the XP is there. When you saw the energy when Grant Willemse came on, you see the certain things where you also want that type of energy, from the guys, where they add it, and they're not within themselves, and it just, man, New Zealand is just New Zealand, man. They can be beaten. They can be. They can.
I don't know. Going into the World Cup, I think someone else may have to beat them, because I don't know if we're
probably the French. Probably the French.
That's what I
probably
say.
The French. But
anyway,
and I think that would be a game. But either way, I still think the Springboks just need to align their pieces properly. That's their thing, and just get clarity and just clarity in what they want to do and who's going to be doing it, and I think they can do.
With that said, we're going to go into this next game against Argentina. They've been given a week to breathe. What do you do now? In my mind, I would the same way in which they went for it in New Zealand, I would be playing the guys that I believe if the World Cup started tomorrow, I would play. I wouldn't be using this as an exercise to see who's going to be on the bench and who's going to take extra plane tickets and who's going to carry bags. I'd be using this to fine tune those games that we want to see. That we still got to play Argentina again. There's still a few other games to see that kind of thing. So personally, I believe in this game. What if I was in the coaching team, I would be selecting the team that plays on day one of the World Cup.
Yeah, I wouldn't be averse to that. With that, think about it. If you're picking your starting 15th tomorrow, for the World Cup, obviously Kitsov is 1 for me. Marks 2, Malherbe 3. That doesn't change. Then Docking. That's where if you're gonna pick, then it's a bit. I think he decent enough showing. We understand where that there's a lot on his plate, but he still had his moments. So effort. he doesn't take a step back, so he's definitely 4. Then I'd even go RG5 starting. And
For me,
if
it's
Kolisi's
Archie or
out,
Peter Steph.
or Peter Steph, and then if Kolisi's still out, Van Staden goes in 6 for me. Makes more sense. I don't think you can still get away with Mostert or Peter Steph there at 7, but Mostert, I think, yeah, his work rate you don't question, but the thing is that
It's the
the
meters,
weight,
things like
man,
that.
then and carries, and even in the clean outs. So, and that's gonna be vital. So yeah, and then Dwayne for me goes in first dips at 8. That's for me that pack. If we're picking tomorrow, Fast 9, I'm okay with that. Lillibok 10.
The only thing, 9, I would say maybe it's time to give Hendricks a run. It's time to give Hendricks a run. We've seen all the other scrum halves. So I would like to see him play against Argentina though.
Yeah, or even Grant Willemse getting a start. Because 9, I think we're still a bit okay with 9, because I think there it's already the dogfight. So those guys, they're still in it. Yes. I think we can't. Yeah, the 9s really they've been doing their best. Especially even in this game with the type of ball that they were getting. Yeah. So 9, the level goes in for me at 10. 12. I still say Dialende, and centers I still say Dialende and
I'm not opposed to Esterhuizen though, because to be honest, Yelendi had a bit of a shock, and he's also one of those where the caps are high, but he wasn't automatic.
Yeah, and he's been there a long time. You're expecting that calmness of a JDV. That I businessman. So yeah, and then wingers for me, it's gotta be Kirtley in the Kirtley, Colby, Villy. That's the 15. And that's for me the most balance that you could get.
Yeah,
if we're picking tomorrow,
largely agree with that.
And especially in terms of what they can bring onto, because what I'm thinking is that yes, we already know what the guys have done before, but this time around, I don't think what you've done before doesn't matter. It's about what else can you bring, because I think everybody's trying to bring something different, and it's tight, man. It's tight. We need to see more.
I think this must be, a bit of a wake-up call. In the words of Desmond Tutu, watch out, I'm warning you. I think that was that kind of a moment for us, and they should be hitting the sprints this week. They should have taken them from OR Tambo straight to the pitch, they train at 4 ways high or wherever. They should have taken them straight to that pitch. Even those guys, they're saying, no, we've got connecting flights to Cape Town, we must go see our families. No, we're staying here and then we're gonna go train. I think they need to get it together. They need to do those sprints. They need to watch tape, watch video, see where they went, making those adjustments.
Yeah, and look, and the coaching group, they have said that when they started out, the plan was always 2023. Remember,
Yeah.
So that's why even by now we shouldn't be too concerned. They should be now brave enough. People know, hey, if you're not at that standard, you get the chop, and it's okay. You keep it moving.
They must cut some guys now. Even they must cut some of them now. Midweek, they must tell them. They must send one-way tickets, no return. Any closing remarks from you?
Look, I still back the boys, but they just need to align their pieces. That's the coaching group, and then just go for it, because we have the tools. We saw it against Australia, and so it's there. They just need to not get flustered and pick the right guys in the right positions. That's all.